y'all.
Hey.
It's Dee.
And it's Chelsea.
And we're back. It's another episode of Postpartum Uncut.
Yes, ma'am.
This is our safe space to talk about the nitty gritty and some of the not cute stuff that happens after you have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Today we are talking about two topics that are kind of hard. They were two big factors in our pregnancy and postpartum journey. And they are not the cutest topics, but they are topics that have a heavy impact, are not really educated about, and they weigh heavy on us. And we want to give you guys a little bit of what it was like to deal with those things. So for me, it was postpartum anxiety. So we talk about postpartum depression. Everyone knows about postpartum depression. That's something that is talked about quite a bit. And that is the baby blues and the adjustment period. We did talk about this, okay. But the baby blues and adjustment period can bring up a lot of feelings. And one thing that I know that people agree with me on, no matter what like bold statements we have to say, one thing we can agree upon is, you know, if you have any type of issues with support in any type of way, but then also if you have any underlying issues, mentally, emotionally, anything like that you didn't deal with before getting pregnant, it's like amplified when you have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I've disclosed to everybody that it was my rage, like some anger issues. The other thing was anxiety. And anxiety is something that I did not realize I had until after I got done having it. And it was really hard because I couldn't explain what was going on, but I kind of could. Like it was this really animalistic instinct to protect my baby against all costs. And in the earlier episode of season 2, when we first started on Mother's Day, I brought up like being in safe spaces. So I think the anxiety was a direct result of how I was feeling about what I was surrounded by. And that's not saying that my situation was just so bad, y'all, but it's like I cared a lot about being a new mom. I cared about being a good mom. I cared about how my son was going to feel about his mother. I cared about how I handled hard things, because that is how trauma is created, is by how you handle things. And so like I think I put a lot of pressure on myself in that, right? To do things the right way. And some of that was just really hard to deal with internally. I was in my head a lot. I didn't want to leave the house with the baby. Like, to me, the world is evil. So, like, you're not going to suck up my precious baby. Going to the grocery store was anxiety producing, because let's talk about how, like, the world is not set up to help pregnant women and moms anyway. Like, let me tell you what grocery shopping is like. You go to the specific grocery store to buy your WIC items, right? Because we did all of that stuff. You have specific things that you can get from WIC. You cannot get organic baby food on WIC. Okay, so you deal with all that stuff first. My grocery store is in our neighborhood. However, some of our neighbors are not that friendly. So my experience of going to the grocery store down the street is very different than the experience I have going 10 minutes away from my house. These are all things that I had to learn after so many trial and errors of having the same shitty experience of going to the grocery store. It's easier for me to go during the day. Dad's at work. I just bring the baby, but I have to bring the baby. Now, everybody know if we can elect to not bring the baby somewhere, we're going to probably do that, right? But I'm not trying to go to the grocery store at 5 p.m. So there's some stuff you just got to suck up and do, right? You get to the aisle with the baby food, and all the baby food is not organized. It is literally just thrown on the shelf anywhere. So how many times do you think I got to the cashier and I'm looking at her like, why are you asking me to pay for this food when it's already paid for? It's just these little moments. They're less than friendly about it. The baby's crying sometimes. It's a lot. It can be overstimulating. And then, we talked about how many times people try to run me over, like I don't have a fat stroller in my hand. There were just so many little things that I just felt like, I'm not asking you to like make a separate runway for me and my baby to walk down, but can you at least acknowledge that I have a kid with me and that like this isn't conducive to either one of our shopping trips? It was just these moments of going outside that had so much build up because I didn't know what kind of people I was going to deal with, and I was extra like about my baby. I was so like, don't touch my baby, don't, because people don't have boundaries either. There's a lot of people that, I want to see your baby. See, I just got in your
6 feet.
personal space like that. Like,
6 feet.
why are you in my baby's face? There's stuff that absolutely makes sense, right? Like in all of my sessions with my therapists, okay, we all agree that my feelings are valid, but it's the level of intensity that I would feel them that would be like draining, exhausting. And so that's when we started talking about like PMDD when my menstrual cycle started back. The hormones did not settle, and it was a lot. I even got to the point where I told my partner, like, I feel crazy. I feel crazy because my mood is going like this. I feel crazy. Help me. Like, help. Postpartum anxiety is just something that, like, you're constantly worrying about the state and safety of your baby. And some of it seems ridiculous, even though you know your feelings are valid, but it is really hard to deal with. On top of explain, on top of be transparent about, on top of try to figure it out yourself. Half the time you don't even realize you're going through it until after the fact. I also feel like breastfeeding played a huge part in that.
I can see that being very anxious, like anxious moments. Breastfeeding.
We talked about how I wasn't
2 3 hours.
prepared. Yeah, every two, they don't set realistic expectations for breastfeeding either. They tell you the ideal situation, but like they don't talk about, they like, oh yeah, and then cluster feeding happens. That's how that gets thrown at you too.
Yeah.
Well, he's eating every hour, so what am I doing wrong? So then it becomes, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And
That's why you have to find your own rhythm that works for you. Like they tell you
yeah,
guidelines, but you have to do what works for your household.
I think everything that I tried to do right, baby boy just went and did like the opposite. Like, like you're not supposed to lay the baby face down, and that's the only way he liked to sleep, was like on his stomach, just like a grown man. And I was like, look, at some point I have to decide, like, I know what's best for my child. I think someone asked me, wasn't there a comment that someone said, like, when did you start to chill out? And I think I answered them when I felt confident in my ability to take care of my kid. Like, that's when it really does. That's when you can really calm. You just have to know that you are this kid's mom for a reason. And what you can't do, that's what you ask for help for. So, like, for me, it was, yeah, just kind of, I talked to my mother-in-law a lot, like every day. So I got to dump a little bit of, I'm just overwhelmed. And I just, like, she doesn't see me cry about everything, y'all. But like, it's good. It's good to have somebody.
Get it out, vent. And it's a safe space to vent.
She is
She's
a
not
really safe
judging
space.
you.
She's a really safe space.
She cares.
And something I do want to call attention to is how we talk about these things from now on. Something happened on Facebook a while ago where I saw like a bunch of old head moms like talking about Halle Bailey when her baby daddy put her baby on live, and she had like a whole, she went off. And they were making fun of her, like, oh, she's overhyping it right now, she'll learn to calm down. And I was just like, y'all sound bitter and mean. Like, why are you making fun of this new mom? First of all, a person you don't know, that don't know you. I think that's crazy in general. But then to make fun of a new mom on a public social media site, to me, is is why people like me don't talk. This is why we don't tell you about stuff, because that's the reaction we'll get. Um and I also feel like the answer I got, because I said something. So I was like, these comments sound very insensitive, and it's public that I have a baby. It's on my page. So it's, to me, I'm like, do you not see that people like me are reading this and it's hurtful? And their response was like, we went through it, so we can talk about it. And my response to them is, but you don't have to treat us the way you were treated, is my big thing. So like for me, the people that came before us, they don't have the education about emotional intelligence that we have now. That's not something their parents talked about with them. So in my head, it's like pay it forward. How did you want to, like, if you went through these things, how did you talk about it? Did you go to therapy? Because that stuff is taboo to that generation. So that's why I feel like, admit when you feel overwhelmed, admit when you're overstimulated. We get dismissed a lot with the, well, you chose this. You wanted to be a mom. That doesn't mean I wanted to feel unseen. That doesn't mean my feelings don't matter. That doesn't mean I'm not tired and that it's not still what it is. You know what I mean? So I bring all this up to say, like, keep in mind that some people are experiencing something new. They don't know what to expect. And the best thing you can have instead of commentary is compassion.
Support.
Yeah, like if you're going to make a comment about it, if you're going to have any type of say or even the audacity that your opinion matters, then like be a part of the solution. I feel like it's a great opportunity to reach out and say, hey, if you need anything, I'm able to do this. Um, my new thing now is to offer rage walking with moms. I'm like, hey, if you ever want to rage walk, girl, we pull up and we walk, okay? Because we'll walk. And rage walking actually did help me. Like that grocery store incident that is so infamous to me, I literally went home and started walking. I said, I need to go. I need to take a damn walk. And
That's good that you found like a healthy outlet.
That was a 2-mile walk that day.
Healthy outlet.
Yes. So like when you are experiencing postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, or anything dealing with the mental, emotional aspects of motherhood and in that postpartum window especially, you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it in a safe space with people that love you and provide unconditional support. And to be honest, like the best friends that I have ever had are other moms. And I love that my best friends are also on that journey with me too. So that's really cool. It's been very helpful.
Just also to piggybacking off of that, I know people are like very eerie about being labeled as, oh, depressed or anxiety, anxious, whatever. Even if you may not be labeled as that, but everybody does have like an anxious moment here and there. Like regular people have anxious moments. That's okay to feel anxious about something upcoming. Like you don't know what to do with your baby. This is something new. Perfectly normal to feel anxious at some point throughout the journey of motherhood. So like definitely don't feel like shy to talk about it because it's actually healthy to get it off your chest, and then more than likely somebody's been through it too.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's not one drop of shame to be felt because you are a human experiencing human feelings and doing some really dope human stuff with your body. Like, hello? Because I know you didn't really have to deal with like the anxiety and depression portion of it, which is, hello, impressive because we just talked about how her journey was like, pew, pew, pew. Like, I feel like I would have been super anxious, like, to the point of like crazy if I were you. So is there something that you do remember being like very anxiety producing for you during that time of like maybe just like the minute she came out between then and now about your postpartum journey?
I think the NICU journey definitely had anxious moments in it. It's like, you leave one day, your baby is like on a nasal cannula, which is like the step before room air, and then you come back the next day and they're like on a event. You're like, hold on, what's going on?
Like, what happened between this and this?
Yeah, something like that can be very anxious to anybody. Like just a transition, like in the hospital, of like, okay, I left my baby like this, and then now I come back and this is what's going on. She was on an event that was just like more dramatic, like example, but she did have to wear a CPAP machine to help her breathing and expand her lungs because she wasn't able to fully expand her lungs on her own. And she had got to not room air, but a nasal cannula. And I came back like the next morning, they had her back on the CPAP machine. I'm like, so she got worse? Like, what happened overnight when I was gone? So that's kind of like an anxious moment because you're trying to get your baby to the point of where they can come home, and so any step backwards, that's kind of like it defeats you in the moment.
Not to mention that you don't have any control. you can't help, you can't fix it, you can't do anything but sit there and watch. And like for you, I know that was probably really hard because Chelsea's like, I have a problem, so I'm gonna fix it.
But I think also too the reason why I'm not as anxious as people would have thought I would have been or in a depressed state because I am a nurse. I see this on adults.
Oh, you know what?
But I see this
Yeah.
on the regular. So I really am overly chilled in situations where people
Like
will be like,
desensitized a little bit.
Yeah, like yeah, it is my child now, so it does hit a little different, but I still have that like innate chill mode because I'm a nurse.
You know, I guess that could make you have a little bit of peace of mind too, because y'all hear how she just threw them nurse words at us, pew pew pew. But like, but that's real. Like you could have an understanding of what's going on. Because one of the moments in the hospital that was pissing me off was when the group of night nurses come in every time the heart monitor's going off. It was a whole different vibe. And y'all be nice to your nurses. She the reason that I even understood a little bit of what was going on. Okay, but my nurses, they would come in and they would like whisper to each other and not say nothing to me for a second, and I'd be like, what are y'all over there whispering about? Like, y'all can ask my mama-in-law. She came onto the side of the bed like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm getting pissed off. Like, it was bad. So like I could see education is helpful. Having knowledge ahead of time is helpful because you probably hearing words,
mumbo jumbo,
all them dang machines you was talking about too. Like you know what these machines are for, so that's kind of handy to have that background. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so while we're on the topic of anxiety, we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about something that I feel like this topic is like the boogeyman. It's like we know it exists, it hides under the bed, but anybody ever seen it? Do we know how it got here? Let's educate a little bit about it.
Where did it come from?
Right. Something that Chelsea went through. So you want to talk about preeclampsia?
Yeah, I guess it was like a cool, I guess like bundle because you talk about anxiety, and we all know that your blood pressure is heightened when you're anxious. So even when you're pregnant, if you're just in a stressful situation, you're anxious all the time. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't expecting this pregnancy. My money's looking funny. I don't know how I'm going to pay for X, Y, and Z. Whatever the situation is, that definitely could lead to higher blood pressures. For me, I really don't even know how I got preeclampsia. Like, it literally just one day it was like your blood pressure is 178 over something, and I'm like, I was just fine yesterday.
For those of us that don't know, what Nurse Chelsea, what is the healthy blood pressure?
So like gold standard textbook is 120 over 80.
Okay.
So 120, 178. But 178 is period. No matter what's going on, this is never appropriate for anybody to hang out with that type of number. Preeclampsia is high blood pressures, and then it's associated with people who have protein in their urine sometimes. I know all the ladies, you're supposed to typically, when you go to your OB, they do a urine sample. Did you get your urine sample every time?
Every single time.
Yeah, they're checking for protein in the urine because that's not supposed to be there. So if there is protein in the urine, that's like a high indicator that more than likely you're going down the route of preeclampsia. So if you have that plus high blood pressures, you're in the hospital. It's like it's no questions asked. Like there's no we're gonna monitor it XYZ. You're in the hospital. And typically they don't really like anything over 130 for pregnant ladies. Like if you hit 130 with the top number, what are we doing?
And you were at 178.
Yes, 178. Like I instantly got admitted. I was on a drip. Like they gave me oral, but that wasn't going to bring it down fast enough to get my baby back to a safe state. So if you put on a drip for blood pressure, that's pretty serious. So yeah, preeclampsia is definitely a serious thing. That's why they basically threaten you saying, hey, you're going to have to be here for 5 weeks because we can't let you go home because preeclampsia can lead to eclampsia, which is seizures.
So the difference between pre and eclampsia. Preeclampsia is when you're pregnant. It's the prenatal form of it.
So preeclampsia and eclampsia can all happen during pregnancy. Preeclampsia is kind of like the beginning of it. It's like blood pressure issues.
Okay.
Protein in the urine, all of that. Preeclampsia can turn into eclampsia, which is the seizures that occur.
So one is just like a baby version of a monster, and the other one is the savage level.
You can think of it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
that's what it's giving.
That's why they didn't want me to go home. Because if I was to go home with these high blood pressures, they were like, I could have a seizure at any moment.
Right.
I live by myself.
Right. And we don't need that.
Been there to know that this happened to me. So yeah, preeclampsia is a very serious thing. They don't really know what causes it. I don't have a history of hypertension, so I never had blood pressure issues.
Let's also talk about the fact that we just did all of this ranting in our other episodes about the importance of health and wellness. And this girl in the gym all day long, this sweet physique, and still had an issue. So the awareness about it, I think, is the biggest thing, since we don't have answers on what can prevent it and what causes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is stay educated.
Yep. No signs and symptoms, So yeah, and I highly recommend any mom or pregnant lady, first off, check your blood pressure once a day. Just go get a blood pressure machine from Walgreens, Target, whatever, and just check it every day. Because I wasn't checking mine every day because I didn't need to.
Because why would you think you would?
Yeah.
Right?
So I could have potentially caught that by seeing like an increase in my blood pressure. Like, okay, I'm usually 123 over whatever. Now today is 128. Now it's 130.
Right.
Where I could have made,
because it could have climbed over time instead of just jumping, is what you're saying, right?
Potentially,
but you never know because you didn't
have
track
data
it.
to back it up.
Right. Data.
Yeah.
So okay, you as a nurse, your nurse background helped you feel better about what your baby was going through. Did your nurse background help you? Did it scare you more because you knew what they were talking about and what they were saying, or did it help?
I know what they were talking about when it came to I knew what preeclampsia was generally. Oh, okay. I knew it was high blood pressure. I didn't know about the protein in the urine. I didn't know any of that. I just knew I was given a urine sample every time I
right.
went. So I was like, hey, I'm not a labor and delivery nurse. Speak to me in layman's terms because I don't know what y'all talking about.
Dang, so Nurse Chelsea was like, I'm normal today. Can you speak regular English?
Like, what does this mean? I know what it means for me to have high blood pressure as a single entity. What does it mean for me to have high blood pressure? Right. How does it affect my baby? That's what I cared about. So they had to explain it to me because I'm like, what does this even mean?
I bet that was a shock too, to just sit there and be like, how the hell did I get here?
And I felt fine. That's the thing about preeclampsia that's scary. You'll be living your everyday life and then boom, your blood pressure. Even when they took the blood pressure and it was 178, I was like, I don't feel any different than I normally feel.
Right.
That's the scary part. It's not that you're going to even have any symptoms leading up to it.
And then that's how we ended up in the emergency C-section situation, because we went to the doctor. They said that, and then it was like, well, she got to go.
Yeah, well, basically with that, I actually developed something else overnight called HELP syndrome.
Oh, okay.
So that's a whole other thing. On my YouTube page, The Sweet Physique, I do have information about what HELP syndrome is, what preeclampsia is, and a few other, medical conditions that can happen when you're pregnant. But my liver was failing. So high blood pressure, protein in my urine, liver failing. There was just so many different things going on. Big things. And they were like, if you don't take your baby now, y'all probably not going to make it through the day.
Y'all.
So, it's that serious because with preeclampsia, the baby and everything that's going on with the baby and the umbilical cord, all of that is just not, it's just not agreeing with the mom's body. It's just not. So
this is why I really like that you're talking about it, because it became such a serious thing. Mm-hmm. But we have no data to talk about how it got here. Yeah. And so this is something that as women we should know, we should talk about, mm-hmm. and we should be helping each other monitor each other. Like, mm-hmm. check your blood pressure lately, yeah.
I tell people that all the time. I was like, hey, you about to have a baby, check your blood pressure every day. But yeah, so yeah.
That is deep.
Yeah.
And these are not cute topics, y'all. Like,
it's really not.
It wasn't cute to go through any of these things. Like, to have postpartum rage, and I touched a little bit about this on my channel, but the rage itself, I've noticed, like with some of the people that are willing to share their journey, sometimes it is just motherhood being overstimulating, and it, but a lot of it I feel like is a lack of sleep and irritability. Like sleep matters, period, to a lot of things. Your sleeping habits affect everything, and your mood especially. So like
even your muscles need to recover from the gym by getting adequate amount of rest.
Rest impacts so much of your body. So like, well, I will say, like, prioritize naps. Like, ask for help. I asked for help a couple of times for the first time, like recently, because I was like, I'm not calling that in until I really want you. I was being stubborn. I could have been kind of spoiled and called it in, but to be honest, people were visiting anyway. But like to ask for help, I got to use that when we got sick. And I was like, yo, I'm not going to be able to clean my house because the dishes were piled up. I'm not going to be able to do that, get a nap, and keep the baby alive. Like, I need you to do one of those, preferably the baby. Like, and then what did I do? I washed my dishes and I just sat down and laid down for a second. I didn't get to go to sleep because I was too engaged in conversation, but I did rest. You know what I mean? But like the moments where I was tripping and going off on people in the grocery store and letting out just like how I felt about everybody's rudeness, and like I had no filter. It was this very animalistic instinct. It was a lot of rage and it was displaced. So I think managing your lifestyle is the key ingredient in these. Managing your blood pressure.
Yeah, key takeaways definitely for preeclampsia is just manage your blood pressure. Even if you have a history of hypertension, you don't necessarily get preeclampsia. So just monitor your blood pressures, and if you do have hypertension, take your meds per what your doctor is saying, and making sure that your blood pressure stays in the appropriate parameters. Make sure your doctor is getting the urine sample from you every time. And just make sure you realize with preeclampsia, the placenta is just not agreeing with the body. And like the doctor said it to me, that was actually kind of eerie when he said it at the time. He was like, we have to get the placenta out your body. I was like, but you need a placenta to grow a baby. He was like, he said, yeah, I know. No placenta means no baby, so you got to take it.
So we got to go. That's the best way to tell me what's going on, though, I guess. Like, get to the meat and the potatoes of it. I got to get your placenta out, girl.
Yeah. So it means the baby's born now. And I was like,
that's wild. Yeah.
So yeah, just in the even postpartum, just monitor your blood pressure.
Monitoring your blood pressure. You make me want to go get, because now I feel like I should have had one. Like when I got home from the hospital, I feel like I should have just been on this at this point. So now I think I need to go buy one. Yeah, well, it definitely doesn't, does it? As far as like managing rage, like I said, working out has been really great for aggression, getting your sleep, and those mommy moments. You have to take them, even if you're not in the mood. And I know that sounds backwards to some people, but sometimes we're not in the mood to take care of ourselves. You have to do it. Even if that's locking yourself in the bathroom and taking a bath, a warm bath for the 30 minutes that's uninterrupted, sometimes can do the trick. Sometimes shaving or like plucking your eyebrows, like some sort of self-care, painting your nails. Sometimes that's helpful. Coloring. There's so many things, but the key is to manage your stress levels and to stay on top of your sleep.
Absolutely.
As far as anxiety is concerned, if I had any advice for postpartum depression, I definitely think therapy is helpful, or having a safe space to talk if you're not into therapy or don't have the resources, and then to do something. Whether that's create, like take some finger paint and make something with your baby, like make some art, create a new recipe, cook something, but to make something, take action. And that usually increases like the endorphins and those happy hormones. But that's my tidbit on anxiety.
And piggybacking off of that too, there's no way to ever really prepare for preeclampsia.
Yeah.
But I think having a knowledge of what it is, signs and symptoms to look out for, and then what to expect if you are unfortunately diagnosed with this, it'll be less of a shock. You're going to be like, okay, I already heard about this. I heard about all the signs and symptoms. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It's still gonna be a little bit of a shock, but it's not like you're hearing it for the first time.
Yes.
In crunch time.
in crunch time is the part for me that I feel like is so wild about that. Is like, because hello, anybody can get it, and then it don't matter how you try to prepare, you can't fully prepare for it. So please continue education, continue the hard conversations. Let's keep talking about these not so cute things, so that when our children become moms and their children become moms, they feel like they had some support and some people were on their side and set them up for success.
Absolutely.
We always enjoy a conversation with y'all. If you experienced preeclampsia, eclampsia, postpartum depression, or postpartum anxiety, or HELP syndrome, because touch on that, drop a comment and tell us about your experience in just a few sentences. If you know someone who's experienced it, you can talk about what you learned about their experience. Or if you don't have any clue what we're talking about, still drop some questions. We'd be happy to answer and continue the conversation. We hope you guys enjoyed a little tidbit about some of the yucky stuff with postpartum, but we appreciate you coming on this journey with us anyway.
Love y'all.
Love y'all.